share a little bit about Azar House. Would you like a podium?
Great.
Okay, all right.
Hi. It's really great to see so many familiar faces, and it's really just a real, thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome.
A real privilege to be here. I wasn't going to do this, but I have this scripture I just want to share with you guys really quick. Friday was March for Life. Did any of you hear about that in the news? It was all over the place. Well, Friday, our staff and board and then our prayer, thank you, our prayer partners, we fasted and prayed that day. And one of the scriptures that came out of that was an interesting scripture in 2 Kings, and it's the story about Elisha and how, and I always butcher this, the king of Syria, all these, Old Testament names and everything are kind of hard to pronounce sometimes, but he wanted to come against Israel, okay? And so, but every time he tried to, it was foiled. And he said, hey, we have somebody in our camp here that's telling these guys what we're going to do. And they said, no, it's Elisha. He knows everything. And so they decided that they were going to go after Elisha. So they go down. They find out he's in Dothan. Help me if that's a mispronunciation. And they go to get him. And so he wakes up, and if you can imagine, he wakes up in the morning, he goes out, and there's all these chariots, and they're going after him. Well, his servant goes, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And he goes, don't worry, he said, because we have more fighting for us. So he prays that God will open his servant's eyes. And do you remember the story in the scriptures where they look up and the chariots of God are all around the mountaintops? And that was the scripture that God gave us. And so I just want to encourage my fellow believers in the valley that that's the scripture that God gave us. And another thing is, the story goes on and it says that God blinded that army. And Elisha leads them over to Samaria and drops them off there. And says, here you go. And when their eyes are opened again, they go, oh my gosh, we're in Samaria. What are we doing here? And the king of Israel says, well, should I kill him? Should I kill him? And Elisha says, no. He says, if you look at the bottom of that scripture, he says, no, feed them, give them something to drink, and send them home. And that really ministered to us. As we look at a community where, there's a lot of different beliefs here, and we may feel sometimes that we're outnumbered or, by the enemy. We're not. We're not. So that was really encouraging to us. So maybe that'll encourage you guys too. And as believers here in the valley, we serve the same God. We serve a risen Lord. So really quick, today is Sanctity of Human Life. And has anybody heard ever before about Sanctity of Human Life? Yes. Okay, there's a few. And great. Sanctity of Human Life is, obviously, Friday was the anniversary, the 45th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, which was the court ruling that abortion was legal in our nation, has come to that place today, along with two other rulings that give us the right to have an abortion at any time and at any time in the pregnancy. So sanctity of human life is when believers come together and we say we believe that life is sacred. And from conception all the way to when we go to be with the Lord, it's sacred. And so we stand up for that today to say that we believe that life is sacred.
Amen.
So I thought, what would I say? I could stand up here and I could give you statistics and tell you how many lives have been lost and how many lives are lost each year. And you've probably all heard that. But I felt like the Lord said, tell them a story. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of history. Some things that you may or may not know about Roe v. Wade. There was a young woman named Norma McCorvey, and she found herself in an unplanned pregnancy. She was told about two lawyers who could possibly help her. Now, these lawyers were in Texas, And they were hoping to have the Texas abortion laws declared unconstitutional. So Norma met with them, and they felt that she was the perfect face to put to their case. And she became Roe in Roe v. Wade. The thing that you may or may not know about Norma is that she never did have an abortion. She placed for adoption, as she had her other 2 unplanned pregnancies. But still, the laws were made. Things were changed in our nation since 1973. Another part of that story that you may not know is that a few years later, something changed in our country. Pregnancy centers, they called them crisis pregnancy centers back then. Now we call them pregnancy resource centers now. But crisis pregnancy centers began to spring up across our nation to come alongside of these men and women who found themselves in an unplanned pregnancy and scared. And so, you know, God has his ways, right? And he works. And so I often wondered if there would have been someone to come alongside Norma besides these 2 lawyers, if, you know, our laws in our nation would be totally different today. And so I'm thankful that later in Norma's life, she came to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. She became a Christian, and she fought hard to get Roe v. Wade overturned. Unfortunately, she didn't get to see that because last year she went to be with her Lord. But we are here. We can still pray, right?
Yes.
We can pray that these things will change and that laws will be overturned. But until then, places like Azar Pregnancy Resource Center at the Etna Community Center, we're here for these men and women who find themselves in these places. We've been able to, I just had a feeling that when we opened our doors on June 8th, we would be going, and we have seen men and women in different situations in their lives. And so I'm thankful that God has allowed us to be here for the women maybe who are hurting after they did choose abortion. We're here for them. We're here to come alongside of them and help them through that pain.
Yeah.
For those that have had pregnancy loss, we're here you know, to come alongside of them and to help them through that pain. I just thank you. I thank you for having me here today, for letting me come. Thank you, Pastor. And it's good to see all of your faces. And God bless you guys. God bless you. Pray for Azar House. And I want to personally invite you to our fundraising banquet. So come, be a part of it. Enjoy a great dinner from OYG. And that's February 1st. So thank you.
Amen.